Yes, we had to come on live today to talk about the latest with the Jonathan Majors case. I am your host, Emmanuel Eman Noisette. I want to thank each and every one of you that are attending today live for this chat. And for those of you that are joining on the replay gang, shout out to the replay gang. Listen, we're getting really, really close with this trial. It's getting close to the very, very end. And there's been a lot of information that has come out in just the past couple of days. So if you've been on my channel, if you haven't, you should be. I've been covering this case since the very, very beginning, before it even went to court, back in March. So we've been covering everything from every report, from every piece of evidence that has been communicated from Jonathan Majors' team. And then even now, more recently, more things from the prosecution. And again, just in case you're new here, we are trying to report on the facts. Of course, I will give you my opinion on certain things, but I've always wanted to wait for all the information to come out so that I can make an informed opinion regardless of whether I'm a fan of Jonathan Majors or not, or anything of that nature. And yes, I know I just look like I broke up a little high school fight. But at the end of the day, the facts are what matter to me in this situation. Yes, so we are also going to talk about some of the latest video that is dropped. Again, if you've been following me, this is something I've been waiting for a long time. I wanted to see the footage of the actual incident. We've seen some footage of the alleged victim, being clubbing and partying and all of that. But all of these things were just pieces of a bigger puzzle. I think now that the judge has allowed some of the audio to be released, some of the video to be released, now we can kind of see a better, clearer picture of what happened and whether an actual crime here has persisted or not. So that is what we're going to do today. This is not a cheerleading section for Jonathan Majors, nor is this going to be a bashing session of Jonathan Majors either. Again, we're going to focus on the facts. We'll focus on the evidence. You can still come up with whatever opinion you want. But I am going to do my best to just go off of what was reported, what happened in court, the evidence that has been made public. And then again, you can make up your mind along the way. Just in the interest of time, I'm not going to dissect every single aspect of every single thing that happened. I'm going to try and give you guys the meat and potatoes of the case, and kind of go over what happened, who got, which witnesses testified, and so on. And again, if you're lost, you can always go back to some of my other videos where I've been chronicling everything that's been going on. And again, hopefully you can come through with your own opinion once we're all informed. So let's kind of go through so first of all, and I thought this was a pretty important article, because I've told y'all this, I'm not a lawyer. Okay, I'm not a lawyer. I'm just like many of y'all. I'm just somebody that reads the news and tries to get as much information before coming to any type of decision. However, I thought that it was pretty interesting to hear from actual legal experts. And we have this article here. This was from Business Insider. And according to these legal experts, they're saying like, yo, this Jonathan Majors case is far from a slam dunk. Okay, far from it. So for anyone thinking that this was an open and shut case, they're saying not so much. Hold on. So here are just a couple of things that they mentioned here. Said prosecutors have their work cut out for them in the Marvel actor Jonathan Majors assault trial. This is again according to legal experts. One thing here says that no video footage exists of the alleged assault, but the jury in the trial has been shown surveillance footage that prosecutors say shows Majors picking up Jabari and throwing her, quote unquote, like a football back into the car after the alleged incident. The jury has also seen photos of Jabari's swollen finger and bloodied hand, but Major's defense team has suggested that Jabari's wounds could have been from a fall after she returned to her apartment that night after partying until past 3 a.m. So we do have some of the video footage here. I do believe that we have some images from TMZ because man, TMZ has been on it. And just kind of a heads up, there is going to be just a little bit of body wound here. So just FYI for anybody that's a little squeamish. So here is the image of the ear laceration that has been claimed. This is pretty much what they're talking about. Like there was a cut, I guess, on the back of her right ear, right here. This is photos, I'm assuming, of the medical exam or the police, either way. So you could see right there that she was indeed wounded at some point. Now, the kicker here, what the prosecution has to establish is when that happened. And that's kind of the difficulty here. You don't really know, did Jonathan Majors do that, or did this happen during some other time frame while before, when she got to the apartment? Because they're saying that about 8, maybe 11 hours or so were in between that time when they were in the car to when she got to the apartment. She went to a couple clubs, she was partying, so who knows what happened there. But yeah, that does look like a pretty nasty um laceration to her ear there. And then here is the image of her finger being swollen. You could see the redness right here, and that's where allegedly her finger was fractured. There was some sort of hairline fracture here. I don't know. Okay, now I'm be honest. Can we be real right here? Because they're showing that there were marks on her neck. Okay. If we can be honest, when I read about marks on her neck and the police allegedly saying, oh, making these choking gestures that made it appear as though they were coaching her, I'm sitting here thinking like, oh, y'all must have like fingerprint marks on her neck. I'm gonna zoom in on this for y'all. I'm I don't know if I see that here. I see the finger. I do see the finger injury here. I'm just saying this right here, I don't know if this constitutes as an actual wound. I don't know, because she's pretty light. People that are light in complexion, you could go like this and hold your finger for a minute and they can turn into a different color. Okay? I'm just being honest. Like when you're that light in complexion, I would assume that if there was a more serious type of injury, it would probably turn a little purple, a little blue. Because again, look at her finger. Okay, look at her finger. There's a legitimate fracture or injury here. Her fingers literally turned different colors. I'm just saying, around the neck, I don't see the same consistency. That's all. Okay. I'm not saying nothing happened. I'm just saying I don't see it with my layman's eyes. Okay. So anyway, um, let's go back to this here, to uh what the legal experts were saying. It says here, there's a challenge for the prosecutors. It's hard to get a unanimous jury to convict unless you have something more than the testimony of one accuser. Okay, I'm gonna say that again. It's hard to get a unanimous jury to convict unless you have something more than the testimony of one accuser. Now, Mark Betterow, he's a criminal defense attorney. He's saying that it's never ideal to have a case rely so heavily on one witness. And it says here, both Betterow and Romney said that they could potentially see the case resulting in a hung jury or an acquittal unless additional evidence comes into play as the trial continues. So this is again coming from two, legal experts, and they're saying, but at the end of the day, if all you have is just one person saying this person did this to me, and you don't have any other corroborating evidence, it's gonna be hard for the jury to be like unanimously, because you need everybody on board to just be like, yes, that person is guilty. And I've told you guys this last time as well. It is the job of the prosecution. It is the prosecution's job to put forth enough evidence to suggest beyond a reasonable doubt that this person is guilty. The prosecution is not here to give full context. They're not here to give the full fair picture. They are here to paint the defendant as guilty. That's it. The other side of this, the defense, they have to show that there is at least reasonable doubt. If there's reasonable doubt, if they poke holes in the evidence from the prosecution, that's really all you need. They don't need a slam dunk. They just need to be like, you haven't proven your case. And if the prosecution, if all they have is Grace Jabari saying that this happened to her, if all you have is video of an instance of a physical altercation, but you have this big old gap of time, you need more. It sounds like you need a little more. Now, the prosecution feels as though this is enough, but again, according to these legal experts, they're saying that this is shaky. This is shaky. So far, anyway. Let's see. They also go on to say this is about why domestic violence cases are so hard to prove. Ramani said independent witnesses or contemporaneous reports to law enforcement and medical personnel are helpful in these cases, especially if the relationship is over and the abuser is arguing that the victim is just a disgruntled ex. However, physical injuries, statements, and other corroborating witnesses or prior situations between the two parties where similar conduct occurred can help lend strength to the evidence and support the victim's allegations. Now, why is that important? Last week, we sat here and talked about a lot of the text messages that came from September 2022 conversation between Grace Jabari and Jonathan Majors. Okay, now a lot of people were saying, what does this have to do with anything? And to an extent, you cannot charge him, at least you can't convict him if something happened. You can't convict him of a past crime, right? Like in that case, that would have to be a whole different trial, a whole different thing. But you can, when the reason why it was brought up, according to the prosecution, they brought up those old texts as context. That was their words. They are telling the jury those old texts are context to let you know that there is a pattern here, that there are situations going on here that show a history of some sort of abuse. Now, again, they can't convict him on speculation on that, but they're trying to say, like, look at this past stuff and look at this current stuff, and they're asking the jury to put those two things together. Is that enough? I don't know. That's up to the jury to decide. Now um we do have this, and I wanted to, we talked about this last week with the whole Corretta Scott King Michelle Obama audio, right? And the text messages, I'm sorry, the audio was played for the jury where we started to, where they were able to hear this conversation between Jonathan Majors and Grace about an incident that happened between them, and I think maybe she was intoxicated or something like that, and Jonathan was not happy about it. Now, I do have the audio here so that we can listen to it for anybody who has missed it or did not hear it. So let me put that up. So we're gonna listen to it, and the reason why I wanted us to listen to it was really because I think that there's a very big difference between reading something and just hearing it, right? Because we should experience it the same way the jury is experiencing it. So I am gonna play the audio here, so that we can all kind of get a sense of like the tone, maybe the context, and you can make up your mind from there. But here's the audio of this whole Corretta Scott thing that we heard.
Could be doing right now. Period. This is actually period. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
Do you really know, baby? Do you really?
Yes.
Then how dare you come home drunk and disturb the peace of our house when we have a plan? I would like to get to the point where your friends know what job I'm on and go, I think Grace is gonna be out of commission. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I won't.
No. Do you understand that? Because that team, that unit, right? Grace has to be in a certain mindset to support Corretta Scott King. You know who that is? That's Martin Luther King's wife. Michelle Obama, Barack Obama's wife.
I know. I'm not. I shouldn't have gone out. I'm
No,
sorry.
let me just lay it out for you, right? If I'm just gonna say this. My temper, my shit, my trauma, blah, all that said, right? And I'm not saying I'm a great man. A great man. I am doing great things, not just for me, but for my culture and for the world. That is actually the position I'm in. That's real. I'm not being a dick about it. I didn't ask for it. I've worked, and that's the situation. The woman that supports me, that I support, that needs to be a great woman and make sacrifices the way that man is making for her and for them ultimately. Last night, 2 nights ago, you did not do that. You did not do that.
I'm sorry.
Which took away from the plan. And the plan is everything. If it was just you in the house drunk, maybe I could have swallowed it. Or I would have felt bold enough like, oh, babe, let's just go to bed. Which I said to her, I'm just going to go to bed. I'm not hungry, blah, 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 blah. Because Grace isn't here. Why? She was drunk. Why else? She was clogged by whatever was going on. You know what I mean? Fine. I can take that. Fine.
Okay. So, that was interesting. I think listening to that, there were a couple things that was happening, and I'm just giving my opinion. You don't have to agree. There were a couple things happening in this that I took away from. One, obviously, we don't have the full context of whatever this conversation was. Okay. That's just a fact. We don't know what led up to this. We don't know what was said prior to this, after. We don't know. We just had that little bit. And this is the piece that the prosecution wanted to play towards the jury, for the jury. I have questions. So one of my questions would be, he talked about like, we have a plan. So one thing that I've always said is like, whatever relationship people are in, however y'all define things within your relationship is on y'all, right? That's all. I really, I respect that. If y'all say, you know what, we agree that we are not going to do A, B, C, then that's the rules for y'all relationship. Okay. So that's one thing that I'm kind of wondering, like, was this an actual agreement between the two and maybe somebody violated it? Or is this one of those conversations where I tell you the plan and that becomes our plan? I don't know. I don't have the context, but I could understand how people will listen to this and be like, oh man, he's talking down to her. But I can also understand it could be like, oh man, he's talking from a place of disappointment because they had an agreement, they had certain boundaries that were crossed. This is why context matters, because it can be interpreted in different ways. I know people, for example, listen, I came from a Haitian household, okay? Everything, his tone for me was not problematic to me, but that's because of my experience. I know folks, however, that don't come from the same type of upbringing where they would look at this and be like, nah, he's yelling, he's screaming, and that's intimidating. So I get both sides. I'm not condoning one or the other. I'm just saying I understand that if you don't come from the same cultural background, if you don't come from the same upbringing, tone, listen, how many times we've seen people just get talked at and they start crying. And you'd be like, wait a minute. But you the one that stole the milk from the store. Why are you crying? You the criminal. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying, I understand how it could go either way. Then there was this illusion, it sounded like Jonathan was talking about some sort of drunken episode that she had, I guess, around friends or family. And let's be honest, celebrities have different standards than us regular folks, right? I mean, listen, if my wife did something in front of our family friends, that's very different, or vice versa. If I embarrass my wife in front of our family friends, let's go the other way around. That's very different if one of us were a politician or if one of us were a celebrity with a high profile, because my embarrassment on this local nobody level is not going nowhere. An embarrassment for a politician or a celebrity, that's headline news. So I understand there are different standards there. Now, in regards to the whole I'm a great man thing, listen, I've told y'all this from the beginning. I don't really trust any celebrity based on the 5 minutes I might have met them. I met Majors. When I met Jonathan Majors, he was the nicest guy in the world. Very kind, very cool, very down to earth, right? But that was only like for 5 minutes. I have no idea how this brother operates behind closed doors in private. I don't know. For all I know, he could be a jerk. And guess what? Being a jerk is not illegal. He might have a false sense of grandeur, grander issue. Maybe he has a God complex. I don't know. Either way, it's irrelevant to me because it does not speak to whether or not abuse happened. Again, this audio, even though it was presented to the jury, and I understand why the prosecution would show this, because they're trying to show, look at this guy, he's aggressive, he's controlling, he's manipulative. These are the prosecution's words, by the way. So I get that, but I also understand he's a celebrity. Maybe he has a God complex. Maybe he's a jerk, but you still need to prove that he actually did something. So this is where I'm just like, I don't know if this is a slam dunk, but I'm not mad at the fact that if I were the prosecution, I would try this. I would try it because that's the game that they play. But anyway, let's kind of move on here, because now that we got that audio, we also have the witnesses. So the prosecution brought some witnesses here. And if y'all recall, the witnesses that were brought were primarily these were the people that were there with I think one of them was there with it. It was the woman. Let me see if I got it. I do have it. It was this woman here. I think this is Chloe or whatever her name is. Yes, this woman right there in front of the guy with the white hat. She's the one that was kind of like, consoling Grace Shabari or whatever. This is after, Jonathan was running away. But they brought her to testify because this woman also she went with Grace after everything. Matter of fact, let me play that real quick. Um Towards the end of the video, as you see Jonathan Majors coming in and you see her trying to hold back her boyfriend, like, let him go. She walks off to go get Grace. Okay. She walks off, and then they both, her and the boyfriend or whatever, they both end up going out to party at the club. I think it's called Lucy's or whatever. They go and do that. Now, we also have testimony from the driver as well. So we're going to go over both of these here. Let me get that right here. But it says here the prosecution's two best witnesses in the Jonathan Majors domestic violence trial testified that they were drunk or hardly saw anything. Yikes. Says prosecutors' two best eyewitnesses took to the stand, but did very little damage to Marvel star Jonathan Majors, instead testifying that they were drunk or hardly saw anything the night in question. Wow. Now it also says here that a chauffeur saw Majors throw ex-girlfriend Grace Jabari back into the hired car, quote unquote, like a football. Jurors have been told in openings, and a drinking buddy had direct knowledge that Jabari's hand was injured, but neither the chauffeur nor the drinking buddy witnessed any actual violence or injuries. Whew. Okay. So Chloe Zoller, she was the one that was with her, with Grace after. She was describing sitting with Jabari at a nightclub within an hour of the fight with Majors. Okay. So keep in mind, right after this incident in March, right after the whole chase and all of that stuff, Chloe was there in the nightclub with Grace. And we have already seen the public videos that Major's lawyer had released, where we see Grace Jabari in the club. She's on her phone. Keep in mind, it's her right finger that is fractured. She's on her phone. I don't know about y'all. Shoot, my phone be so heavy, like my hands be getting tired. You know what I'm saying? But it did not show signs of injury, according to the lawyers. It also showed that she pushed her hair back, a couple of times with the broken hand, allegedly broken finger, and keep in mind with that laceration in the back of her ear. And constantly we kept seeing we did not see signs of injury, and apparently this was just 1 hour after the incident in the car. Okay, so again, the defense is trying to say the injuries that were present do not seem to hold up with the time frame of being caused by Majors. That's the defense. And so Chloe continues and she says, while we were sitting there, Grace informed me that her finger was hurting. I grabbed a piece of ice from the ice bucket and I held it to her finger. Okay. Now, this is significant testimony. Majors is fighting the charges by arguing that Jabari had injured her own self hours after their fight. So, testimony that Jabari was injured before then is very helpful to the prosecution. Zoller could not remember which one of Jabari's fingers she applied ice to. Zuckerman, I guess that was one of the lawyers, asked, "You didn't observe any marks on her face?" Zoller said no. On her neck, she said no. On her ear, on her finger, she said no and no. Okay. And Chloe goes on to say, before even reaching the club, I was intoxicated. And she ceded that early in her testimony. I'm just sitting here thinking, like, why did the prosecution bring that up? Like, why would you bring them up as witnesses? Your witness is supposed to sit here and add credibility to the situation, but she's admitting that she did not. I mean, I can understand she might not know, was it the left hand, right? I get that. But she's admitting that she was intoxicated before everything happened. I'm just saying, like, if I'm the prosecutor, I would have been like, hey, shut up. Shut up. Don't say nothing about that. Because now, if I'm on the jury, I'm like, can I really trust anything you say? Because you was drunk like before all that happened? I mean, that was a choice. Um, let's see what else. Prosecutors say that the actor Jonathan Majors smacked her in the side of the head so hard, they say, that she suffered a bleeding gash on her right ear. Surveillance video obtained exclusively by this outlet from 8 minutes after the fight show no apparent damage to Jabari's hand and ear. Again, this outlet, Business Insider, they got the footage from surveillance video, and this was only 8 minutes after the fight, and they're saying no apparent damage to her hand and ear. It also goes on to say additional video from the nightclub shows Jabari using her right hand to pull Major's credit card out of her wallet, squeeze a lime into a drink, pass a note to the DJ, and hold hands with Zoller. So, if the charge in this case is assault, I believe we talked about this a while back, kind of reading how New York law operates. You have to prove that significant injury or harm was done. If they're looking at the video and there's no evidence of pain, that probably leans closer to the defense's side, because the prosecution has to prove that not only did he cause the harm, but that harm was significant to actually harm her, like it caused an injury. So again, this outlet is saying they didn't see nothing based off of the video and her interactions. That's what they're saying here. It says at least twice Chloe and Jabari hug each other during the night, their right ears appearing to press together. The lawyer asked, did you ever find any blood on your clothes? And Zoe said no. Now keep in mind, this is the same right ear that has blood, and the lawyer's trying to figure out if there was a bloody ear and y'all both hugging each other, did you ever find any blood on your clothes? And she said no. Now, I don't know if that's a slam dunk either, because if she was drunk, was she really looking at her clothes? And would there be a lot of blood on her? I don't know. But, it's a question for the jury to decide. Then they also talked to Dr. Chiang. He was the medical examiner. It says here that the prosecutors called to the stand the emergency room doctor who treated Jabari's broken finger and bleeding ear on the afternoon after the fight. She got into an argument with her boyfriend. She took 2 sleeping pills. That's according to the doctor. And that's she's describing what Jabari had told him. But Jabari could not at that point describe the mechanism of the injury, meaning how the injury happened. So, in other words, yes, Jabari went to the doctor. She said that she got into it with her boyfriend at the time. She took 2 sleeping pills, but she couldn't talk about how. She couldn't say how she got the certain injuries. I don't know how much that helps the prosecution, because you would hope that the medical examiner could say, oh yeah, this wound right here, it could only happen if somebody slapped or punched you or whatever. But it's sounding as though they're creating more gaps of doubt in this account anyway, according to these witnesses. Um, who else? Oh, okay. So in terms of being unharmed, this is we saw the video here. This is the video of Grace. Actually, I think I could play the audio too. So we can listen to this. That's her right there.
No way.
Yeah, but I just been in a patch my head and taken my phone around.
You can call him. Do you want to call him? It makes you feel better. I don't know who why you do. Why you the guy? Why you the guy that likes you?
I know where we live.
So she seems distraught here, but as you can see, she's tying up her hair, moving around. That's what the lawyers are saying. You not that hurt.
Well, what's funny
They're saying it's the right hand also. And they're saying this is right after everything happened. Now she's telling them that she got into an argument and a fight with her boyfriend.
Can I help you get a car?
Now they're looking for a car or whatever.
I know where I live. So I live in Village Avenue.
Okay, let's get you.
And keep in mind, this is right after that whole chase. This is right after that. We're going to watch the chase in a second.
Alright, fair game, girlie.
She's telling them that Jonathan Majors ran off.
Let's get you home. Let's get you home.
So she's clearly distraught here. She's getting emotional. She's wiping her hands on the face.
No, hold on. I'm gonna hail you a cab, and we're gonna.
I need to pay with it. No.
Wait, Chloe, I never walk.
I think in this case she doesn't have her purse or a way to pay for stuff. And that's why she has to use the phone. She was too busy chasing Jonathan.
You guys have the best doorman in the world.
Now she's scrolling through the phone with her hand, and this is the finger that supposedly was injured.
Sorry, I'm embarrassed.
She's holding it like this.
I'm a guy. I mean, my girlfriend says that.
Anyone call?
I don't have to have a spot. You can see it.
Here, give me your Venmo. I'll give you
You
the
don't need money. I have credit.
Everything I have is just fucking fun.
It was $13 if I'm ever homeless in like 5 years. You owe me $13.
Jonathan Majors should be coming up soon. But again, once again, she's touching her hair. She's doing all this. And this is her supposedly with a injured finger.
No,
And the defense is saying there's no sign of injury.
I have a card here too.
And this is right after the whole incident.
you guys, I'm so sorry. No.
Laying around with the coat, grabbing it.
No. I simply will not.
No. You're fine. You're gonna be fine. You're gonna get where you need to be.
He ran, I don't know where the fuck he is.
She's talking about how he ran. She ain't talking about how she chased him though.
That's his fault.
Here he comes. That's Jonathan right there. About the purse, and he's like, nah, I'm good. Look at Captain Saving. Hold on, Captain Saving. I'm not gonna let this happen. She was like, no, you're not, Johnny. You sit down, Johnny. You sit down. You're not gonna do that. Not today, Johnny. That's it. So clearly, again, according to the defense, they're saying, look at that. She's doing all this. I mean, y'all, I don't know if y'all have ever had an injured finger. I've had a paper cut, and I'd be like, ugh, on the phone. I'm just saying it don't. And these phones be heavy. And you doing all this with your fingers? It doesn't help the case, is all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Shout out to all the Johnnies in here. I'm sorry. Johnny in the video shouldn't have. He not gonna give y'all a bad name. My bad. But like on a serious note, when you combine this footage so closely after the direct incident with the fact that right after this, there's continuous footage of her being in a club and using the phone, you dancing, partying, and you're not seeing. And now keep in mind, we're not going to watch all 8 hours of the video, but if I was the prosecution, I would have to show at some point, something to be like, dang, ooh, something to show injury was sustained. And if that's not displayed, then it's harder to prove the case. But let's see. Let's move on. What else do we have? Should we go to that? No, let's go to the driver's testimony. So, of course, one thing that people have been waiting for a while is the chauffeur's actual testimony, because the chauffeur was actually there in the car. Now, I thought we were going to have the chauffeur have like a in-car video. I have not seen it. If y'all have seen it, please let me know. I have not seen that actual video within the car. I don't know if that exists or not, but we do have surveillance video outside of it, and we'll get to that. But the driver's testimony is something that's pretty strong here on either side, because they were the closest person to the whole event and the whole situation. So we do have a couple of things here from the driver. Let's see here. Let me get it here for you. Nope. Let's get that. There we go. So the driver says here, many things were happening. I had the feeling the girl had hit the boy. Now, the Judge Gaffney, reminded the driver, you can only testify to what is happening, not what you think happened. And, just for clarification, the reason for that is you don't want to taint the jury pool. As a witness, you're not supposed to add your speculation or add your opinion. You're supposed to just say, this is what happened. This is what I saw. That's it. So that's why the judge is kind of reminding the driver, you can only testify to what is happening here. And the driver was like, he was trying to get rid of her. And the lawyer was like, please, this is the prosecution, please keep your opinions to yourself. Okay. And the driver said he was trying to get rid of her. And this is what the driver repeated to laughs from the rows of Majors supporters seated behind him. The driver added, he was saying, Jonathan Majors was saying, leave me alone. I have to go. And the driver continues to say, he was not doing anything. She was doing everything. So according to the driver, Jonathan Majors was not doing anything, and the driver is claiming that Grace Jabari was doing I guess she was the aggressor, according to this testimony. The driver also noted that Majors was trying to throw her in the car when Jabari had attempted to follow him out of the vehicle. And he said he was trying to push her into the car, and that the couple had eventually both left on foot. We will get to that in just a second. It says here, at one point, Majors and Chaudhry leaned towards each other, so him and his lawyer, and they both grinned. So both of them kind of grinned, right after this testimony from the driver. And I'm not gonna lie, the driver's testimony does seem to support more of Major's case. You know, when the driver sits here and says she did everything, he did nothing, I'd be fist pounding my lawyer too, be like, cha-ching. I would do the same thing. So that was there. So now, so here's something else, because this was also from somebody that is following the case online. It says here that the driver and sole witness to the March 25th confrontation between Majors and Grace Jabari just took a seat in the witness box. Prosecutors have told jurors that the driver saw Majors throw Jabari like a football, and Major's team has told them he called Jabari a psycho. So, once again, the prosecution said that the driver, I guess, explained it as throwing Grace into the car like a football, and the defense has said that the driver basically labeled Grace as a psycho. Now, here's the thing. In this defense, and I'm looking at the people that were in the court and what they were talking about. Matter of fact, let's just go straight to it. What they were saying. As the couple fought, hold on, let's make that bigger. As the couple fought, the driver said he initially thought Jabari hit Majors because of the way she was fighting and the sounds produced, but he was looking ahead and couldn't see. In a quick cross-examination, he said he didn't find any blood either. We, the people in the court, never heard quote unquote football or psycho. So I guess we can kind of toss that out with whatever information, because even though the defense wanted her to be painted as a psycho girl, and even though the prosecution wanted him to describe the events as throwing her like a football, the driver didn't say any of that at all. So I don't know. Let's see, what else do we have? Okay, we already saw that. Got that. Nope, we won't do that. Let's actually take some time and look at the actual video. Most of you have probably already seen it, but this is the video of what actually happened on the car, like in the car. And this is probably the most significant video. Uh-oh, is it not playing? Uh-oh, I don't see it. Hold on. No. Okay, hold on. Plan B. Hold on. Give me 1 second, because the video is not playing as I thought it would. But this is why I have backups. 1 second. Okay. There we go. Okay. So let's go here. There we go. So this is the video, because TMZ just be on it. This is the video from the actual night, and this is, as you're gonna see, Jonathan Majors and Grace pulling up in the car, and this is when they get out. So let's kind of look at this. And there is no sound here. So that's the car right there. You see the car pulling up. And I'm assuming this is where they have their incident. Right here, you see Jonathan Majors pushing her into the vehicle. Okay. He's pushing her into the vehicle. She gets right back out and he starts to walk away. Now, this is important. This is important because if you guys recall, Jonathan Majors filed a police report against Grace Jabari. In the police report, he mentioned that he had to put her in, like, she was acting hysterical. According to him, she was acting hysterical, and he had to put her into the car. And according to his lawyer, he was trying to put her in the car because they were in the middle of oncoming traffic, and he was trying to protect her. Okay, that's Jonathan's side of the story. The prosecution is looking at this and they're saying, look here, this is assault. Okay, I'm gonna play it again. Look closely right here. The prosecution is saying, because again, Jonathan admitted to this, he picked her up, threw her back into the car, and they're saying that is where the injuries happen. They're saying that the injury happened somewhere in that time frame. And as you see here, Jonathan is walking away. He's trying to walk away, and she is following and pursuing him. Okay, she's trying to pursue him. And now he's like, go, go, get off me, get off, juke move, spin out of there. So now we got a close up. Okay, he does hurl her in there. Now again, he's trying to protect him or protect her, and for whatever reason, she insists on getting out. She insists on grabbing him. Right there. Hold on. This is what his defense team also mentioned. His defense team talked about how she was the aggressor. And as you see, he is walking away, and that she ripped the coat button or something like that from him. So this is just one of those things to kind of keep in mind in terms of how both sides are looking at this equation. But he is running. He is running. He pushes her aside, runs away, and she does a mad dash right after him. You see her running down the street. He is running. I mean, I'm trying not to make no jokes, but this is comic. I've seen a lot of people talk about and make memes of how this is just crazy. You know, y'all saw when Victor Timely was running away from everybody in the Loki series. They saying this the same thing. Now, one has to ask, okay, because let me be very clear. I know that domestic violence is a very serious issue. Please never, ever, ever assume that I am not taking this seriously, because I am. But I do have to ask, and I do have to inquire as an uninformed person, right? I'm just a layman. I have to ask myself, if she was truly in danger, if she truly feared being harmed, hurt, or whatever, if she saw Jonathan as a threat, would you chase him for like 5 blocks like this? I mean, if your alleged abuser is running away from you, would you actually chase after them? Now, again, I know domestic violence is complicated. I know 1 + 1 does not always equal 2, but as a layman, as someone who's not all that informed, this is just the natural question that I have. Why are you chasing after him? If supposedly, I get that you love him. I get that. I get that emotions run wild. I get that. But if he harmed you, why are you chasing him? And it looks like he really is trying to get away. Yeah, that's tough. That's tough. Now we also have, now I think this is obviously that was probably one of the most incriminating pieces of evidence that we have not seen. We have not seen. This is one of the reasons why I've continuously told people wait for all the information before you jump to anything. Just wait. This is probably the best piece of information that we could have seen because we saw the actual incident. Now we haven't seen what happened inside the car, but that's on the prosecution. The prosecution has to prove that one thing led to another or one thing was a direct cause. I saw him push her into the vehicle. Maybe that did cause harm. I don't know. But I also see this man running away from her. And it looks like he's trying to avoid a situation. I don't know what to make of that outside of he doesn't want to be involved. Like, whew, this is messy. I'm sorry. This is just messy. Let's see. Then okay, so now we can move on to what happened after that. So we saw the video, we saw Grace talking to those strangers. We know that she goes off to go party and stuff like that. Now we get to the 911 call. If you recall, Jonathan Majors was the one to actually call police because he came home much later in the night to find out to text messages, I believe, that she was threatening suicide. She was threatening to end her life or whatever. And he was worried about her. So he came, he had to get the handyman to open up the door. And they found her half naked in a bathroom. And he called 911. Let me see. Let me see if I have the audio for y'all for the call. Let me see. Do I have the audio? Is that working? Okay, I don't think the audio's working. So let me see. I think I could probably read it, but let me see if I can maybe I have to re-download it. Hold on. Let's see. 911 call. There it is. There it is. Okay. So we do have the 911 call here. I play some of it. I don't think we need to listen to the whole thing. But I think that listening to the tone, the demeanor, I think that helps add context to things when we're trying to evaluate stuff. So let's kind of listen to Jonathan Majors calling the 911 emergency line for Grace when he found her.
New York City 911, you need police, fire, medical.
Hey, how are you? This is medical. Attempted suicide, I think.
What is the location?
252 7th Avenue.
All right, so that was 252 7th Avenue, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
What apartment?
Penthouse D.
Penthouse D?
Yes.
As in David, right?
Yes,
this is in Manhattan or in Brooklyn?
This is.
Hello, sir?
Yes, ma'am. This is in
You're
Manhattan.
losing service. I'm sorry. Okay.
Okay, it's okay. It's in Manhattan.
All right. So this is Penthouse D. Just stay on the line, all right?
Okay, we'll do.
Penthouse D as in David. Don't worry about it. Speaking to me is not delaying anything. I just need some help, some information for the crew. They're already on the way, okay?
Okay.
Attempted suicide. Let me get them going. What happened exactly? Do you know?
No, I don't know. But she's unconscious. She's naked from the bottom down. She has a sweatshirt on. She's my ex-partner. We broke up. I came back. She sent me text messages insinuating as much. I stayed in a hotel last night. I came home this morning. I banged on the door. I've been at the apartment for about 40 minutes now. I banged at the door. I couldn't get in. I finally went downstairs and asked the doorman to help us. And they let me in via the handyman.
All right.
Yeah. She's 30 years old. White, female.
All right. Does she suffer from anything prior to? Or no, she have a mental condition or history?
I would maybe say so. She has a history with...
What's her name?
Her name is Grace Caitlin Natasha Jabari.
Grace. All right. Do you know what she did or what she took, or you don't know?
No, I don't know. I just know she's just unconscious on the floor.
No problem, sir.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get you over to the EMS. Do not hang up, all right? They're already en route, okay?
Okay.
All right, stay on the line.
All right, so I'm gonna end it there. There is a little bit more, but you know, from my take, he sounds genuinely concerned about her. Um, I'm a firm believer that multiple things can be true. You can be a problematic person, and you can also be a loving, caring person. I'm not saying it makes sense. I'm just saying that both things could potentially be true. So um, you know, at least from that call, it does sound like he does care. I mean, he didn't have to call; he could have walked away, but and but again, I think that there's value in at least hearing these things and seeing these things, versus just listening to it. Now, of course, because my goodness, TMZ got everything. We actually have additional video from a little bit after the 911 call. And this was something I wanted to see. Now, I don't think we got all of the footage because I wanted more footage. I wanted the body cam footage when the police showed up, when the police were questioning Grace, when they were allegedly coaching her. That's the body cam footage I want to see. And I hope that they make um, available at some point. But we do have some video, and this video is of when they found Grace, Um, so here we go. So they're walking through the apartment. This is the body cam of one of the responding officers. Jonathan grabs a blanket because keep in mind when he found her, for whatever reason, she was naked from the bottom down. So they found her in the bathroom closet. He puts the blanket over her to cover her up a little here, and the officer's responding to her. And Jonathan's backed up. But yeah, this is how they found her. And this is where she was passed out. We heard a lot of the different testimonies. We talked about this last week, where the police were saying that, according to her, she whispered and said that she didn't want him around, while she was, trying to recall the events of whatever happened. And yeah, and this is where the police were trying to ask her like what happened. She didn't know. They asked her, how'd you get these wounds? She didn't know how she got them. Again, this is what she was saying at the time. And yeah, that was the footage that we got for that. Let's see. I think we can get to yes, so let's get to the closing remarks. So today was pretty much the last day of the trial, where both sides get to make their closing remarks, right? And this is where they make their final pleas to the jury. They say their side of it. Again, remember, both sides are supposed to argue their side and their side only. But we do have some excerpts from what Jonathan Major's lawyer said and what the prosecution said to the jury. This is Major's lawyer. She says here, "Why are you here? You are here." She stopped. Her voice got choked up with tears. "You are here to end this nightmare for Jonathan Majors. Jonathan Majors is innocent." As she returned to her seat at the defense table, Majors pulled out a chair to let her sit. Now, let me say something. I've been saying this for a while. part of this entire thing, this whole case, is also PR. Part of it. Okay. And they're doing a good job. They're doing a very good job. You got Megan Good in there. You are showing that he is a loving man towards a woman. Obviously, that counters the perception of an abuser, because to a jury, they're probably thinking, well, if he was so abusive, why would another woman be with him? So again, I feel like this is chess, and these are all little moves and little things of like, okay, help this woman lawyer pull out her seat, be nice. Again, they're adding to it. I would encourage a lot of you, if you haven't seen it already, on HBO Max, watch The Night Of. If you haven't seen it, it's a good little series. But in that series, they talk about how to do these little things to affect the perception of the jury. Now, it doesn't matter. We're not talking about whether you're guilty or not. We're just saying that there are little tactics that are used to help influence perception. Okay. I mean, I don't think it's a coincidence that my man is holding the Bible under his chin during the trial. I don't think that's a coincidence, But anyway, so we have some of the claims here from the closing arguments. Okay, I'm gonna go back to the defense. This is more from the defense. It says, throughout the trial, the defense has argued that the case boils down to race, with a small white woman testifying as a victim against a large black man in the defendant's chair. According to the lawyer, they took a look at Mr. Majors and made up their minds, they being the police. They decided who was the victim and who was the criminal, and they asked Grace if Majors had done this to her. She added that knowing what calling 911 could mean, a concerned Majors had dialed anyway and feared what happens when a black man arrested in America calls 911 came true. Woo. Okay, so the defense is leaning into the racial aspect. And let's be honest here. Let's be honest. Race has historically always played a role in a lot of these cases. Race plays a role in a lot of situations in America. We just talked about how last week Grace had mentioned that about their previous encounter in 2022, that she was scared of Jonathan because he's a big guy, and she was scared. And it's like, look, you're playing, whether it's true or not, you're still playing into the trope of big scary black guy, little frail petite white woman. And when I tell you, that's literally how the KKK got kicked off with Emmett Till, right? Like, oh no, not the big scary black guy, who was a child, by the way, going after the white woman. Like, this perpetuation of race has some standing in this country. So it's understandable that the lawyer would kind of go into this and say, knowing that factor, knowing that race can still play a factor in how bad this looks, Jonathan still called 911 anyway. In other words, the lawyer's basically saying, if this was bad, if he was guilty, he probably wouldn't call 911 to cover things up, but he did anyway. So again, this is just to help the jury get more doubt, and really question whether this guy who called 911 to help this woman that he ran away from, is, and who, by the way, he filed charges against, is he really that person that the prosecution is trying to paint? Speaking of the prosecution, it was their turn, so this is what they had to say to the jury. Assistant District Attorney Kelly Galloway alleged that the assault case boiled down to control, domination, manipulation, and abuse. The defendant didn't hesitate to use physical violence when Jabari discovered his infidelity and grabbed his phone. They brought up the whole audio about him being a great man, the whole Corretta Scott thing, Corretta Scott King aspect. And the prosecution flashed on a screen alleged text messages between Majors and Jabari from September 2022. And they said that this was context. Okay. So again, they can't charge Jonathan Majors on these texts or whatever of, which we have no context from 2022, but they are providing that for the jury for the sake of context. Now, the prosecution goes on to say this is not a revenge plot to take away a man's career or ruin his life, noting that Jabari had spent the first few days after the March incident trying to protect Majors by telling emergency responders she didn't know what happened to her and refusing to cooperate with prosecutors. Is that the actions of a woman whose sole intent to take a man down, to not cooperate? So the prosecution is trying to flip it. They're trying to flip it while they're sitting here saying, look at Jonathan Majors calling 911 for this person he cared about. Would he really be abusive to someone he cared about, or wouldn't he cover it up? While on the other side, the prosecution's like, look, you think that she's just this evil person that the defense is trying to paint, but she actually was trying to protect Jonathan by not talking to the police. And we saw that with those earlier text messages back in March, where she basically said, I'm going to recant. I'm not going to talk to the police, something to that degree. And a lot of us were sitting here like, well, if she recanted her claim, why is this charge even happening? So the prosecution is basically saying, like, this ain't a woman that's out here just trying to destroy the black man. She's actually a victim, according to the prosecution. So, let's see. Now we have the jury is convening, right? It says jury begins deliberations in Jonathan Majors' trial after his defense calls case a nightmare for him. It says 6 Manhattan jurors have begun deliberating in the assault trial. Judge Gaffey instructed the jury on the pertinent law in the case. The judge released jurors for deliberation starting at 3:40 on Thursday. The 2-week trial included 15 witnesses, video surveillance footage, 911 audio, and alleged text messages. Now, one thing I did that does kind of stand out to me here, and this is going to be tricky. This is one of the reasons why I tell y'all you have to wait for the information. The reason why, if anybody here, and y'all let me know if you've done this or not, let me know if you've done jury duty before. If you have done jury duty, one thing that happens is the judge will be very clear on your role and what you're supposed to do during the trial. The judge will say, hey, you've heard all of this stuff. You've got all this information, but let me tell you what the law says. And what the law says is what the jury must go by at the end of the day. Again, I'm not a legal expert, but I'm just telling you, when I went to jury duty, this is what happens. And the judge will say, the law says you can't do this or you must do that. And that is the barometer that the jury has to go off of. So with that in mind, the jury has to go off of 2 main charges. One being assault. Did Jonathan Majors assault this woman in whatever degree? Again, that depends on the letter of the law. And 2, was there harassment? That's another charge. Both of these are misdemeanors. But again, this is what the judge is saying. Everything you heard, base it off of these charges. Did these charges get violated according to how they're listed based off of the information you know now? I say that because even if you agree Jonathan Majors is guilty, it's going to be because of how the law is stated. Even if you think Jonathan Majors is innocent, it's because it did not hit the mark of whatever the law stated. So the law is the real barometer. It's the real sticking point of whether or not he will be found guilty or innocent in this case. Okay. I wanted to make sure that people, because in case you've never been in court before, you might not know that. You might think that something is common sense, but it's not about what you think or how you feel. It's about what you perceive based on the letter of the law. Okay. So I want to make sure people get that. Okay, let me go back. There's still a little bit more from what was said in the court. Jabari had told the jury that Majors had often slipped into easy rage and aggression. This is back to that whole scared of a black man type of thing, right? Jabari said that she took the phone from Majors' hand and that in response, Majors allegedly twisted her arm. Just trying to protect myself, she claimed. She felt a really hard blow against my head, and that took me aback. Okay, this is according to her. Now, the prosecution said, now let me just be clear. Let me, because one thing, and maybe I'm missing something, I don't know, but she said that he gets rage and aggression. That's not an admission of he used to beat me or he struck me. Okay, so let's just be clear. Because from what I'm looking at, what in her testimony, I'm looking to see, did you say he hurt you? Now, she does say that he twisted her right arm. Okay, she does say that. And then she said she felt a really hard blow against her head. I'm still wondering, are you saying that Jonathan Majors put that blow on you because y'all was going back and forth a lot? Did you bump your head going in or out the car? Like, I'm not hearing specifics in this situation, whereas I could see her being more clear and saying, yo, Jonathan hit me in my ear, he hit me in my head, he twisted my arm, he did this, did that, XYZ. So if this is the most of her testimony, it does sound problematic. I just don't think it's as hard hitting as it could have been if these events transpired, right? The way that she's describing them. The prosecution says this is not a he said, she said case. This is a she said plus. And Galloway, flashed the whole thing on there, the context. Yeah. Now, Jonathan Majors' lawyer says Grace Jabari was not hurt. Jonathan Majors is innocent, and Grace Jabari is a liar. Jonathan Majors' lawyer goes on to say, police who responded to Majors' 911 call, they bought her white lies. They bought her big lies. Who else bought her lies? These prosecutors brought Grace's white lies, being her big lies, and all her pretty little lies. Now, let me just say this. I don't really like what Jonathan's defense lawyer just did there. I don't think that you have to, because what this sounds like, and again, I don't care about your political affiliation. This sounds like GOP talking points of when they're like, oh, the big lie, or oh, the hoax, or oh, the witchcraft. I don't need my lawyer talking in bumper sticker talk. And I don't think that this lawyer needs to talk about white lies, little lies, because obviously she was still leaning into the racial thing. I don't have a problem with her bringing up the fact that the racial stuff is true. It is a thing. That is something that happens. But sitting here talking about the big lie and the white lie, you don't have to do that. All you have to do is stick to the facts. All you have to do is say, hey, jury, what do you think happened when this person went from here, showed no signs of injury, went to a club, showed no signs of injury, went to an apartment, took some pills, was intoxicated, has no recollection, woke up, had injuries, and Jonathan Majors is supposed to be at fault? That's all you have to say. Because right there, there's so much gaps in time. You have to leave it up to the prosecution to prove that he did it. You ain't got to be sitting here talking about big lie, white lie, this and that. Like, to me, it just felt a little below. It was unnecessary, in my opinion. Just my opinion. But anyway, let's see. She goes on to say, this is the defense lawyer. You are here to end this nightmare for Jonathan. A tear rolled down Jonathan Majors' cheek. He did wipe his face with his coat sleeve, and she said Jonathan Majors is innocent. So that was it for the testimonies. Let me see. Was there any other thing? I think I got most of it. Here's somebody else you guys can look at if you wanted somebody else that follows the case here. Who is this? Victoria, whatever here, whatever. Y'all can follow them. But this is another reporter in the courts, and they're also dissecting this. So y'all, if you want to see more details about that, you can go there, check it out. There's a whole thread about what happened. I had talked about now here's anyway, whatever. Y'all, there are a lot of other people that are doing this as well. Let's see. Now we also have this is from Danny Does Law. She's also in the courtroom as well. She said that the jury requests at 4:20 p.m. Detailed judge explanation on each charge. So the jury wants to know what happened, the explanation on what the charges mean. And then the jury also wanted to see video of interaction on Canal and Lafayette outside of the car, which we saw earlier. And the jury also wanted to hear the 911 call. So this could be done for a number of reasons. Again, for anybody thinking this is an open and shut case, if that were the case, they would have ruled today. But the jury wanted more explanation on the charges, and I just got done telling y'all you have to go by the letter of the law. They wanted a detailed explanation from the judge what the harassment, what the assault actually means, and they will determine whether or not Jonathan actually violated those laws. And they wanted to see the interaction and hear the 911 thing once again. And yeah, so that is what we have. So about the verdict. So the jury did convene. They will supposedly come back, I want to say around 2:15 New York time. So that's like 1:15 my time and Central time. And maybe they will have a decision, but we don't know. We don't know. Because supposedly the jury can take as much time as they need to figure this out. Remember earlier in the beginning of this video, I told y'all that the jury will have to according to the legal experts, it's hard to get all juries, everyone on the jury to just unanimously agree. That's hard to do. So did the prosecution do a good enough job? Did the defense do a good enough job? Well, we don't know what the jury's going to say, and this is hopefully we will get a verdict tomorrow on Friday. This is perfect timing because I'll be going live on Friday. I will not be going live when the news comes out. Y'all don't have to tag me. I will be following the case, obviously, and we will give any verdict or news or whatever during the Friday live chat, which is tomorrow. So I will be following it, obviously, of course. But as far as a verdict, and once again, I've told y'all from the very jump, I don't know where this is going, right? And I didn't have all the information. However, and hold on, let me go back real quick. I cannot go live tomorrow when the verdict happens because I'm gonna be at work. I have a 9 to 5. I cannot go live on company's time. So you guys are gonna have to tune in when I'm off the clock so that we can talk about it after, at the normal time. So I just want to make that clear. Anyway, so now we have as much information as possible, right? As people outside the court. We're not in the court. And we got the videos, we got the witness testimonies. We finally heard what the prosecution, how they were going to spin their argument. We kind of already knew how Jonathan Major's side was going to spin their argument. We've heard both sides. We have as much information as possible. Based off of this, my thoughts on this, I don't think the prosecution did a good enough job here. I'm not saying that Jonathan Majors does not have toxic, problematic tendencies. He probably does, or he probably did. I don't know. Maybe he overcame them. Who knows? I'm not saying that Jonathan Majors is a completely perfect angel at all. All I'm saying is I don't know if the prosecution did enough to say he did this and that directly caused that. I think that there are still holes in their case. I don't think that they have enough witnesses to corroborate this. I think, like, if I was on the jury, now granted, I have not read the law per se. I don't know the exact thing, what harassment involves. I don't know how that goes, but just my outside opinion, I think he's gonna get off. I think he's gonna be proven innocent. Again, I wasn't in the car. I don't know what happens in their house. I don't know what happened in 2022. All I can go off of is what this case is trying to prove right here, right now. And I just don't think the prosecution did enough. I don't know. Maybe you guys did. Maybe you didn't. I don't know. Whatever you thought, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And by the way, can I just say this? Because I know some people are going to do this. I don't know where the verdict is going to go. Okay. I don't know if Jonathan Majors is going to be guilty. I don't know if he's going to be innocent. I've already said, I think, he probably is innocent because I don't really believe that the prosecution did a good job. Please do not come on here or anywhere and saying, I knew he was blank. Because no, you didn't. Don't say, I knew he was guilty. No, you didn't. I knew he was innocent. No, you didn't. You didn't know. None of us knew. Nobody knew. You hoped he was guilty or you hoped he was innocent. Nobody knew. We wasn't there. None of us was there. None of us saw all the video. None of us heard all the testimony. None of us knew. Just because you hope for something and it actually comes true does not mean that you knew it. That's not the same thing. I'm calling y'all out early, okay? Because I know somebody gonna be like, see, I told y'all, and this was it. No, you did not know. Whatever side you on, I don't really care what side you on. You did not know. Just accept that. Be humble and just be like, hey, I'm happy the information came out that supported my cause or supported my belief. That's fine. But don't be acting like you actually knew when you didn't, because you wasn't there and you didn't have all the information. We all found stuff out together. All right. Thank you so much for watching. This was just a segment of one of my live chats, and if you're interested in joining in on the next one, be sure to subscribe and turn on your notifications for more. I've got more videos and reviews to do for you all, and until next time, I'll see you all later.